Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for coming once again to Body and Soul, Soundtrack to See Forever 2. I am Q. I am the facilitator. I'm not even going to say storyteller because the storytellers are my lovely cast here. So thank you for coming to Chaotic Wholesome. We appreciate you being here, and we will start with introductions and then get into the story. Let's start. Let's start with the person that wasn't here last week. We're glad to have you, Mark.
Hey everyone, I'm happy to be here too. I'm Mark J. I'm playing Buna, the Lord of Death. Um, Going first of the first. Is that it? Any more I need to go over? You can find me at More the Merrier on Twitter. And I'm happy to be here, be
There we go.
working with this wonderful cast.
Fantastic, fantastic. Candace.
Got to make sure I'm not muted. Hi, everyone. My name is Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and I am playing Ayath, who is the deity of language and lifestyle. Also, well, they, she, he, so all pronouns.
Very good. Stefan.
Hello, I am Stefan, he, him, and I am playing Anansi the Spider, probably one of the more famous trickster gods in mythologies around the world. And so we'll see what kind of mischief I can get up to today.
And last but not least, Liz.
Hi, that's me. Hey everybody, I'm Dauntless. You can call me Daunt or Liss. My pronouns are she, they. I am playing Hathor, who is formerly the Egyptian goddess of beauty, fertility, and family, and is now having found a new burgeoning sense of purpose in Harlem in the 1930s, is exploring what it means to touch spirits with music and dance. So I am transitioning. It's interesting. I'm excited.
And we love watching that transition, the whole
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Point of order, just a bit of housekeeping. Um, as I mentioned before, there may come a time in the story where we use some words that definitely have a bad connotation. Specifically, you may hear nigga with the hard R. We believe that we are capable of telling that story. However, our use of it is not permission for you to then use it outside of, just don't say it. It's basically what I'm saying. If you can't say it, you still can't say it even after this. So just keep that all in mind. I think we can begin. So from the 30s into the 40s and the 50s, it was a struggle for those that were Black and in America. There were a lot of battles that we were able to achieve. We got the Civil Rights Act. There was a push for education for Black folk. And while white America fought against that, we still managed. And now, in the 60s, while it is still difficult, where in certain places the word boy hits the same as nigger from white lips, our people are living. They are gathering, surviving. And in no place is that better shown than in the church. We start in a modest church house. The outside is painted a white, light blue. The inside is white. The wood shines and creaks with the effort of supporting all of these beautiful people. They have brought out their Sunday best because many of us decided that we weren't going to wear the rags anymore. We were going to show that we were kings and queens in our time. And so the outfits are immaculate. One might call it regalia with how fancy it is. The bigger the hat, the closer to God, is what the church ladies will tell you. The elders sit up front, fanning themselves as the heat and the intensity of the sermon sweeps through the congregation. The pastor stands before them teaching a word that is of the Christian God. But the energy that's felt here seems more than just what comes from Christianity. There's more soul here, more power. Everyone is swept up in the moment, and the music drives them forward, makes them dance, has them slain in the spirit, as it were. Which of you would be in a place like this? We'll start, of course, Hathor.
I was gonna be chill about it, but then nah. Yeah, I'm here. Definitely taking Sunday best, trying not to draw too much attention, but I'm up in there. A yellow knit sweater over a white and yellow floral dress, white satin gloves, a nice tasteful hat. Um, just kind of trying to mingle, definitely you know, odd one out, I guess is a way to put it. Not really here with a group, but amongst the group still. And whether it's a slow hymn or the fifth reprise of a jump in prayer song where you were waiting for the sixth reprise because surely that's not it. Hathor is in the center. And I think just not only radiating joy, but absorbing the joy that's already been produced in the room. It's not that she has anything to do with what's happening here necessarily. I wouldn't say that they orchestrated anything. It's just being in a space where this is occurring naturally resonates with their spirit like a tuning fork, and just energy just releases through the room.
Excellent. Can I get one more?
Well, I think Anansi would be there as well. But as per usual, kind of somewhere in the back of the room, definitely not up to the front, but hanging back and kind of watching the scene go on. And of course, very smartly dressed, but perhaps with a few things that would stand out. Maybe the flower in the breast pocket is a little bit too loud. The hat might be a little bit too ostentatious, just a bit over the top, but not too much. Just enough to kind of draw the occasional eye, but still very smartly dressed, and watching from the back the ebb and the flow of the people and the music and the responses from the crowd in the church service, as those who know the difference say that the difference between white church and black church, that there's a lot of for lack of a better word, audience participation.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally Anansi will be a part of that.
Incredible.
Ayath is there, presumably sitting with Anansi. Definitely in the back. They wear a mix of masculine and feminine fashion. Again, their face kind of more square jawed, very full lips, broad nose, big eyes, very androgynous features. Their hair is pressed and curled, really short bang in the front. And they do have on a large kind of fedora style hat that they wear sort of low over their eyes to not attract too much attention. Their arms are perpetually crossed. In one hand, they're holding their black gloves. They have a blazer kind of thrown over their shoulders to make them a little bit more modest since they're in the house of the Lord. They're wearing kind of a high neck turtleneck sort of cut off top that's very close fitting, and their pants are kind of like a more wide leg pant. So they're wearing kind of a more masculine style outfit with some feminine touches. Everything obviously very well tailored and expensive. There aren't a ton of people sitting around them in their area. I think it's pretty obvious that because he has money, Ayath is put up with. She's welcome there, right? No one makes her feel unwelcome, but it's very much one of those. She's a tourist, rather than being at the fish fry. She goes and buys fish for the whole congregation to show support, but
Right,
no one
and there's
knows
always an
if-
invitation. There's always an
Correct.
invitation.
Correct. And nobody knows if behind their oversized sunglasses they are sleeping through this sermon or if they are a rapt listener, which is very much by design.
Mhm. Now, of the two of you, because both of you are sort of tied in with storytelling, which one of you, if at all, would have any connection to the pastor? Because what is a pastor but a storyteller?
No.
Anansi most certainly would, and especially Anansi having had the being godly himself would have the occasional conversation with the true head of this household that has lured so many of the children of Africa, and therefore would occasionally speak to the pastor and discuss and perhaps insert ideals of some older tales in the very long tradition of the particularly in the Black community, of the marriage of old ideas and religions with new religions and the things that people have flocked to here. And so perhaps sometimes the impetus for a particular sermon or the lesson for a day might have some connections to far older tales that come from the mother continent that might be attributed to a certain spider whispering in the pastor's ear.
Incredible. As the expected and unsurprising sixth praise break happens, as the church hears but a word of this story that the pastor has drawn out. Buna, would you be here?
Oh, I would be entering at around the sixth praise break. I walk down the aisle and I see Anansi and Ajath sitting there. And there's a few people between them in the pew. And I simply whisper, "Move." And they make way for me. Buna is a tall Black man shaved bald head, thin wire glasses, wearing black trousers, black shirt, with a gray jacket over the top. Buddha looks like he's always attending a funeral, although he never attends funerals. I slide past the people and I smile at Anansi and I Ajaz. How much longer does this have to go on?
A good question, fair question. But unfortunately, so many of those who once followed us without reservation have been swayed to the stories of those who colonized and conquered them. And we now have to negotiate their adherence to this new faith.
It's funny because they think being here protects them from death, but I'm everywhere.
It's all about illusions, you see. Everybody needs a little inspiration to keep going in their lives, you know? You can't just be flying solo. You gotta know that someone's on your side. And now that we walk among them, we're just, background characters. This Jesus. At least in here he's black, because, come on. White Jesus? Really?
From that part of the world and that time in history.
So for me, I tolerate it. I give in to their prayers and answer some of them when I can. I know he's gonna get the credit, and that's fine. It's something I'm used to by now. But I agree with you, Anansi. I wish it wasn't so dependent upon rising up from their bonds. The only reason we stayed that long is because they thought, it's not good to murder people, and it's not good to cause harm, and it's not good to fight back. And Moses delivered his people. Surely there will be a Moses. I don't know. I see how deeply Hathor has accepted this and how much she's there for the people. And I feel like maybe it's time for me to soften in my stance, so I show up and I mingle and I pray and I tithe. That's really what I'm here for, right?
10%
it served its
of your
purpose,
wealth?
yes.
Sometimes I try to get a little extra so that people don't have to worry about it. I try to wiggle my fingers in a direction. If somebody has a bunch of kids, they don't need to be giving 10%. 10% for the pastor? Anansi, are you doing something about that, by the way? The pastor?
He's got a nice car.
He does have a nice car. Exactly. God does not need a nice car.
I have a nice car.
Of course you do. You're in the
Well,
death business.
I think that's a function of what's going on here. Back before, we would tell stories, and those stories were sometimes not pleasant. They were sometimes not happy, but they taught lessons, and they sometimes faced truths that were harsh and brutal. But here, in this place, people who were in chains needed to hear stories of salvation, even if, oddly, those stories of salvation and freedom didn't necessarily apply to them. Their reward, they were told, was going to come after they died, if they only followed the rules, if they only behaved. So not only was it a mechanism of control, but in some strange, twisted way, it gave them hope that there was something beyond the horrid conditions that they were stuck in. And that has power.
Hmm.
That has a power that the truths that we told just didn't. Sometimes people would rather a comfortable lie than a hard truth.
God, if that's not it. It upsets me, all that rebellion of the last few decades. And now we're trying to seek peace, seek a softer way in. And hope is, like you said, powerful. Better hope and this other stuff that comes with it than nothing at all. Yeah.
Do you know what happens when I give them death? They tend to ask me a lot of questions. I was a good person. Why me? I was loyal and servile and a great singer. Why did I have to go this way? Of course, I don't have any answers. And neither do they. It's just very curious that after death, they ask the questions they should have been asking themselves in life.
Sad but true.
Iath just crosses their arms even further, like more tightly into themselves, and sinks down in the pew.
Just pouting. Starting, Hathor is a bit more upfront. You are probably with the mothers of the church, of which there are several. You're not quite at, the elder lady status.
Nah,
Um,
I imagine I'm like the nice young single femme that all the old church ladies love to like. So when are you settling down? And I get to just like disappear to avoid the question. But yeah, if there, I think Hathor is like the kid magnet, like all the little kids who usually their moms have to like, they give them the look and like if you don't sit your ass down in this pew and stop moving and pay attention, like all of those kids,
Oh, yeah.
the second that they see Hathor are like swarmed around them. I'll probably be trying, I guess, to politely small talk while I have like two children in my arms. They're not mine. Just hanging out.
You see the first lady of the church, a full-figured woman, definitely prim and proper. She smiles at you on your way, on her way past, and you can see for a moment a recognition. Like she's seen you well before.
Interesting.
I want you to. We're gonna do a roll about it.
Oh, okay, let's roll
Yeah.
about it.
Let's do a notice, if you would.
Sure. Let me see. Do my eyes work?
Yeah.
Well, they're attached to
hope
my
so.
face.
So I hope so. Also, Mark, let's get a notice roll for you as well.
Notice.
This is D20, right?
It is special dice actually.
Oh,
So give me 1 second. We'll get that dice roller link again.
oh, cool. Thank you.
I put it in the chat in Zoom.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Bless.
I will wait.
Okay, that is a -1 4.
4? Okay. Very good.
I have immediately forgot. Okay, I have +1 on the die, but my notice is a +3, so +4.
+4. Heck yeah. You see as your eyes connect, it almost feels like the beginning of the world. Water and then earth. You feel the moon. You hear a baby's cry, soothed into sleep. There is safety in her presence, in her aura. Yamoja of the Yoruba people.
I will nod respectfully and then kind of pull a Beyonce at the Grammys and just tilt my hat strategically as to shed attention from myself. Yeah, just very just
She rests a hand on your shoulder, smiles. It's good to see you, dear.
It's good to see you too. You look well.
Well, this is just for a time.
I will put at least one child down, ideally two, but that's up to the children, not me.
She will take the other and just
Okay.
right on the hip.
De-child myself. I will just kind of squeeze her hand. And I'll just kind of hover. I don't know if she wants something from me, so I'll just kind of hover awkwardly.
It's one of those. I know it's hard, especially in a house of God. But trust me, baby, this is good.
I find it easier to adjust if I don't focus on whose house it is. Just the people inside.
There's a smile and nod of understanding and agreement. Listen, just because they may not know the gods' names doesn't mean that it's not still us.
You're not wrong.
No, you should probably convince your friends. You can see the first lady looking back at
Oh.
the three of you.
I like to imagine Hathor doesn't even notice they're there until this
Uh-huh.
happens.
Absolutely.
Just prolonged eye contact, and then I'll just kind of turn away. But
Mhm.
like, very not subtle. Hathor's not good at this.
Yes, there's another pact. She will let the child down, and have him return to his mother. You all would have seen her as well. Now, for you, Buna, I had you roll a different thing. Because in the midst of all of the praise, you are seeing someone who is there, but they're not quite swept up in the spirit. You can see that there's a lot of hurt, a lot of anger. And I point this one out because there is a need for another part of your portfolio, your purview, as it were. It's a young man just grown, who's in dark gray and black like yourself. Like they weren't trying to go the full black funeral route, but definitely couldn't be bothered with color. They are off to the side next to an older woman, more than likely his grandmother, who is praising in spite of what, as you were looking, you realize was a death that they recently experienced. And this day and age, that's fairly commonplace. So the scenario is not new to you, but the intensity with which he feels the need for vengeance gets your attention.
How far away is he from me?
Like 2 pews
Okay.
over and to the left.
I whisper into his ear from where I'm sitting, and I'm gonna say he's kind of in a different space altogether as I'm communicating with him. I can sense your anger. You are hurt.
The boy's looking around.
You're in God's house. Sometimes God speak in that house.
There's immediate like up and towards the window
No,
behind the pastor.
I'm not that God. I appear before him, just in his mind's eye, just in this gray, misty space between us.
What does that version of you look like? Or is it the same?
It's pretty much the same.
Okay. Love that. Yeah, I'm angry. Killed my brother and my sister. And I'm just supposed to not do nothing about it.
In this space, I touch his head. And I took their lives, of course. I've taken almost all of them. But I can see which ones they are. And I can see how they died. And I understand why he would be angry.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want to do about it?
They got off scot-free. It ain't right.
So you want vengeance?
There's the moment you can almost hear someone in that attempt to sort of keep things from boiling over quote the Bible and say that we're taught to turn the other cheek. And then you can feel him rip those thoughts from his mind. I want to make right what happened to my family. I want to make him pay.
Do you know who I am?
No, sir.
First of all, straighten your back, square your shoulders up. If you stand before death, you better come prepared, better come right. I can't take a life. I can only give death. And if you choose to take a life, that'll be your responsibility. Unless you pay a price.
He thinks on it for a while. And I think sort of flashes of moments and memories, maybe of you, maybe of other gods, or maybe of him in a past life, or just ancestors. You're reminded of the devil at the crossroads, making a deal to get something done. He swallows and he nods. His back is straight, shoulders set. He means it.
When I come for you next, come at me with all the rage and fury that you come at those murderers. Don't don't welcome me in peace or warmth or comfort. Try and take my life when I come for you next. That is my request.
I think for a moment he's confused. And then he goes, "Yes, sir." All right.
Such are the mysteries of the universe, and not for you to understand.
Yeah, I'll leave that to death then.
I snap my fingers, and I don't know if he remembers what happened, but he knows what happened.
Okay. I think I think for a moment you see him with his fists up. And then he's confused about why he had his fists up. And then he puts them down. But you can see some of that anger. It's still there, but it's off of his shoulders. The weight of it isn't holding him down anymore. And as church finally comes to a close, you all are free to move about the years, because it's the 60s. It's rough out there, but hey, Black folk, as always, are making do and making good. It's a big time for a lot of you, really. In certain good ways and definitely bad. Hathor, Motown is happening. The big bands got smaller, but no less impactful. You got James Brown, who's screaming as loud as the horns in his band. You have the doo-wops, and while rock and roll, definitely started with us, a lot of it's still, attributed, in that time at least, to our white counterparts.
I think, I mean, Hathor haunts Motown, first of all. Haunts it just all the time. But I think something that she does, I'd like to use my stunt popular, and I'll spend the fate point if I need to. But if you're in an area where you're popular and well liked, you can use rapport in place of contacts. You may be able to establish your popularity by spending a fate point to declare a story detail or because of prior justification. So if I have to spend it, I will. I would like to say Hathor is well known, especially among, like, I would say teenagers, young adults, even adults, really, because she runs dance classes in the church basement. I think a lot of the young kids in our area, they don't really have a place to let off steam, and you know what happens to kids that are just out right now in these times. So she has made a sort of underground name for herself in this way, because not everybody approves of it, in giving these kids a place to be that hopefully won't get them hurt.
Mhm.
So I mean, any kind of dance that's physically possible, in music, whatever, just to keep them happy and in a room and have eyes on them. And I think it starts to spread out from the kids to their parents to the grandparents, and it's just like a Black only little vibe, little place you could come to relax, have some, I was gonna say drinks, but I don't know if there are drinks considering children.
Mhm.
Just to chill, just to
Mhm.
chill and have fun and let loose. I think maybe even at one point a little bit, when we're established and the class is starting to get a little bit too big for the church basement, that maybe some white kids come follow some of the Black kids into the church basement to antagonize them, having heard
Mhm.
about this. We break it up, but a week later, one of the white kids comes back and wants to join in on the lessons. And I think Hathor spends a good majority of the next few years trying to figure out how to protect her community in this way that is new to her, while also encouraging white folks, if she can, without tearing her hair out,
Mhm.
to open up just a little bit.
Okay. So
Might be impossible, but we'll see.
So here's the thing. I would love for you to be able to do that. And I don't think you need to spend the fate point on that. In fact, I'd like to give you one.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'll take
Yeah.
it.
Okay, but
Okay.
here's the thing.
What do I have to do?
You're right. There's a caveat. There's a price on that fate point. Um you are doing very well with this. Like the church basement becomes too large. Those are too small to hold how many people are coming to your place. And then you get certain white folk that are actually feeling okay. Like their vibes are all right. They are more understanding. And then there's one who you meet and you can tell that while they want to learn and to be better, they're afraid to do so. And that fear uh, becomes evident as to why when his father and a few of his friends come to your place. They've got a certain attire. It is all white.
My least favorite color. Continue.
Right, and they got these really interesting like headpieces.
Really ugly necklaces, I imagine. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of heat.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course their favorite burning crosses.
Cool. I am not feeling aggressive or violent about this at all, but if I hypothetically were,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What would you want to do?
Do they do anything, or they're just showing up to intimidate us?
Oh, they're showing up to intimidate. They
Cool.
have the standard accoutrement. So you know the all white, the shotguns, the rope.
Okay. I would like to do a number of things. I have once again, I have a list. First thing I want to do, I'll use my stunt Indomitable to defend against the intimidation, to stand fast, and hopefully, even if I can't convince anybody to stand with me. I'm not necessarily going to shout out to the people in the basement to do so. I want everybody to be safe. But I'd
Mhm.
like to send a general air through the room of what we're not taking this shit. Um so if that seems to work, because that's step one, my concern is the people and give
Gotcha.
a fuck about these chumps.
Mhm.
After
Uh,
that, mhm.
You've
Sorry.
got you've got a couple of people that are definitely standing with you.
I'll take it.
I
That
will
is-
say,
Mhm.
if any of the others would like to jump in, you may.
I think Anansi would be there and would be kind of upset because for Anansi, the real while he knows that others around him are into the music as a connective tissue and using that, which Anansi is to some degree because it is a form of storytelling. But one of the things that Anansi has really come to appreciate in this time is the food. And of course, whenever people of African descent get together, there's almost always going to be somebody that's going to bring food, especially if it's tied to a church. So there's something cooking, and the food has just developed into these amazing creations that were originally the cast-offs, the things that the white people didn't want to eat and they left for us, and we remade them into all of these wonderful things. And so Anansi would be one of that cadre of people sitting in a folding chair off to the side with a plate in one hand and a chicken leg in the other, kind of sampling all of these wonderful foods when this interruption comes along. And Anansi is of course troubled by the implications and the explicit threats of violence that are inherent in this, but also the interruption of this all of this together that is the connective tissue of the community. The food, the music, the conversation, the things that bring everyone together, even when so many things are not going right. And so Anansi would kind of creep around at this point, blending into the crowd, using my stunt to allow me to blend into a crowd, to kind of move closer and see what's going to happen next, and wait and see what he might have to do to keep this from going horribly.
Of course. Of course.
Really quick, I'm going to announce, I think psychically, I don't know. The vibe in here is very much like Hathor's going to start swinging in case that affects anybody what they want to do. She's 100% like stepped forward. Hair's coming down, earrings are coming out, type vibe.
Just
heels off.
real quick, absolutely.
I'd like to share a fun
Vaseline.
fact with y'all to really set the tone about where this is going. Hathor in traditional mythology would take the form of a lioness and go and slaughter for Ra people who were insolent or had not paid their penance or had not fallen to worship in a way that the sun god deemed appropriate, and then got so comfortable and cool with that bloodlust that she had to be served a lot of beer to get out of it. That is one of the sort of communal stories. In case wink, anyway. So
Incredible. So I think you stand there, you have a couple folks behind you, and you are squared up with several men, with, again, rope and guns. Their intentions are clear, and the person at the front of the group has called for the young man, who you sensed that apprehension and that fear to come forward.
okay. I don't can I use either empathy, will, or rapport? I don't know which one would fit here,
Mhm.
but I'd love to see if I can convince him to stand on our side instead of his father's.
Okay.
Because we've been kind and good to him, and I can see into his little spirit.
Let's do rapport.
Sure. Thank you for that.
Can I grease palms behind the scenes
Sure.
to aid, to like give a plus?
Yes. Do you have a skill associated with your money? You got like
Yes,
like-
I have resources.
Hell yeah. Roll resources. Roll with money.
Roll your dough.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a +2 with my bonus.
Okay.
So I'm not. Ayath is watching
Mm-hmm.
and is ready for the aftermath, like the rebuilding. Like that's
Of
really
course.
what they're kind of holding for.
Mm-hmm.
But in the time that she's seen Hathor kind of building this relationship with this kid, like there have been kindnesses that their resources have brought. So snacks and drinks and, you know,
Mhm.
the comforts of being able to interact in this space, so that he sees that there's a difference between what he's been told about this culture of people and what he knows about the
Mhm.
culture of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think I'm
Also-
going to say I have helped.
I love that. Also, do you have contacts? Like as a skill?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Perfect. So I think it also comes in the form of you knowing how and who to reach. Because in this day and age, you really gotta stand up for your own.
Yes.
So you've got people sort of at the ready. So while Hathor is absolutely squaring up, you've made calls and people are also on the way.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we are on the way. I'm in the back of a Cadillac Coupe de Ville with two brothers and a sister, both armed to the teeth, pistols, long rifles. They're all wearing all black. And we're up the block. We're on our way. But I know when people are going to die. And so I just say, hold on for a moment. I'll let you know when.
So in as part of this, one of my stunts is one person, many faces. So whenever I meet someone new, I can spend a fate point to declare that I've met them before, but under a different name and identity. And so one
Okay.
of the people in this group that I'm looking at, in another guise, Anansi, worked as a handyman for this man's mother, and in that capacity, Anansi knows from hanging around and doing some work that that this man's lineage is not so monocultural as he would like his companions to believe.
Not quite as pure as snow.
Yeah, and so in the midst of this, um, Anansi is going to kind of just from that kind of voice from the crowd be like, Jeb Perkins, boy, is that you? What would your mama say about you being involved in this sort of nonsense?
There is a full one. They're in, the Ku Klux regalia, so it takes him a moment, and then he pulls the hood off, like the smart person that he is, and goes, like he recognizes the voice, like he shouldn't, but he does.
Mhm.
And then he's looking around for the face, but there's no face to see. So, Hathor, you've been holding your ground. You can hear a Cadillac Coupe de Ville coming down the street, bumping the song of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. I'm
the
gonna
head
step
is shaking.
I'm gonna step forward towards whoever's put themselves at the front of the group, whoever has the balls to do something this vile. Look him right in the eyes of the hood. And I will lower my voice to the point where it sounds as if I'm almost speaking quietly into his ear, but it is low with an eternal and deep slumbering anger. And I think Hathor's fist clenches as she thinks of Harlem and all of the violence before that. Says, all we want to do is dance. If you don't get the fuck out of here, I promise you we're gonna dance.
No son of mine. It's gonna be no nigger loving dancer.
I'm gonna turn to the boy. Is that you okay with your father speaking to you that way? And I'd like to use rapport or another skill that makes people like me
Rapport.
and try to inspire confidence in this boy.
Rapport is good. Let's see it.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was bad, but that's okay because rapport is really high. So that's a +2. Still, I got a -3. We're doing great.
Oh,
But I have a +5 in rapport, so we might still
Okay.
pull up this plane before it hits the ground.
okay. So, yeah, +5, -3. That's 2. That's still good. There's a hesitation. There's a moment where the boy looks at his father, and then at you, and then he shakes his head.
At who? At me or his dad?
He's I don't want him to talk like that.
Okay. Well, I don't think you should talk to you like that either, for the record. Turn back to the man. Look. If you leave now, if you march your sticks and your ropes and your hoods out of here now, we'll call it square. But if you hover, if you stay, if you stake a claim to what has never been yours, then I have a lot more words to call you other than boy.
I think the car pulls up in this moment. Ayath's contacts are here, and Buna is with them.
I like to think the church bell rings like ominously as the door opens.
Oh, absolutely.
I have a big like walkie-talkie and I warning shot. The sniper on the roof shoots at the guy's foot from across from a place they can't see.
Oh shit, yeah.
These are some
Nice.
nice Korean War trained veterans over here, just defending the neighborhood.
Absolutely. You know, as the
Mhm.
Black Panthers would have wanted. You absolutely get their attention with that. I think if one of you would like to spend a fate point, you can tell me how it goes.
I will.
Actually,
I
I've
will,
spoken a lot, so
I was just gonna say that as this is going on, Anansi is going to, being a master of deception, is going to try and create an advantage here, and maybe tugging on a little shadow here and a little something there, make it look like that the crowd here from the church, in addition to those who just spilled out of the car, who are obviously well armed, Anansi is going to try and create an advantage, and having another of my stunts. So I get a +2 to create a deceive advantage against anyone who's believed my lies already. And I am going to try and make it look like the crowd here is more heavily armed than they might actually be.
Incredible. Incredible.
this
So,
is a small stupid thing, but I would like to help with that. Just kind of emanating some low, maybe drum sounds, something like that, just in the corners of the room. Something
mhm.
quiet and ominous, just enough where you don't notice until you notice.
Uh-huh.
Love it.
Hey, that's not stupid at all.
Love it.
See?
So, yeah, exactly. And so there is that moment where they realize that fear and intimidation has not gone the way that they were expecting tonight. And they start to back off. They start to leave. One person trips, falls, the gun goes off. One of the people with Buna reacts quickly and fires back. They are very precise with their shot. And Buna, you have to do your job here now, even though this is, you know, a white man that's been shot.
I wait a moment or two or three. I give death when I'm ready to give death. But in a few moments, I give him death.
And there are, of course, as always, so many questions. You may have the answers, you may not. You don't tell him.
Well, the first thing I said, you didn't think death was black, did you, motherfucker?
No, I thought he was a skeleton. Thought you was a skeleton.
Do I look like a skeleton?
Well, no, that's why I was confused, sir.
Appreciate the respect. Excuse me.
I am dead. You did make death happen to this, so I think respect is sort of what we're supposed to do in this moment.
Where was your respect in life? What was your respect for those people on the lawn of that church? Who even were you?
It was Billy Harper. I was good, man. I went to church, and I meet my wife. But like, those were like barely. Thinking on that now, I probably shouldn't finish that sentence.
Really, with each life, I can see the ripples, like on a still pond, of the impact your death will have. And the ripples don't go far, Billy. No, very, very few people will miss you.
God damn. It's rough. It's rough, buddy.
Right.
So, Ayath, again, you have things handled in the background. This is one of those rare times where the death of a white person won't get just any black person killed, especially because you've got your hands in a bunch of different pies, including some of the newspapers. And well, Billy Harper was, a respected member of the community, and to have him be in the Ku Klux Klan in a place that was supposed to be very progressive.
It's not
Well,
hard.
It's not.
It's a rug that's very large, has a lot of dust swept under it.
It's true. You should really
Iath
deal with
goes-
that dust.
Iath goes to every journalist. What was a pillar of the community doing, not just in white, head to toe, with the hat and the regalia, but can someone tell me why he was in a black church? You mean to tell me that this disgustingness, this filth, this harm, this embarrassment doesn't even have the respect for a church? Do you really want that getting out? Because I feel like that'll change some shit in this country. So maybe you want to, bury that a little deeper. Send a message in your communities, but bury it a little deeper.
I want to back Ayath up, and in the church, for any of maybe the elders that kind of start to, frown and maybe hand wave away things that should be talked about, start just whispering in the correct ears, spreading rumors, to accomplish the same thing of like, don't mind what the church was doing. What was he doing?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
I think
Oh,
in
absolutely.
partnership with Hathor as well. One of the things that Iath will also do, I feel like he'd go to radio stations
Mm-hmm.
and see which disc jockeys she can bribe to play Strange Fruit. By that time, it had been
Mm-hmm.
banned in quite a few places.
Mm-hmm.
But just as like a low-key form of that protest, bring back the poem that inspired it,
Mhm.
and just sort of like lean on the people that they know that they hold sway with
Mm-hmm.
to give kind of more societal and cultural forms
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
talking about the unspeakable.
Absolutely.
While Hathor and Iath are doing that, Anansi is not afraid to sometimes crawl in the muck and get really dirty. And
Mhm.
so Anansi will give one longing look to his plate of uh, food, and then will join in the escaping vehicle, somehow having produced a white robe and a white hood, and will join and will go along with them as they escape, and will insert, "Can you believe that Billy shot himself when he tripped over his own damn feet when he was about to shoot them niggers? Can't believe that boy did that."
Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead.
And will use his formidable deception skills to change the narrative as and the recollections of the men who were there, who are now running off in their pickup trucks, and kind of follow them along to their rally point that they head to, and kind of push that along, and make sure that among all of this, the rumor is spread that somehow when this went on, that Billy just tripped over his own feet and fell on his own shotgun.
Yeah. I mean, you hate to see it, really, but
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy.
absolutely.
In my house, when things like that happen, we go, "Oh well."
Oh,
Oh well,
oh well.
shit happens.
Bless his heart.
Oh, Lord love him. So yeah, I think collectively you take this moment and you manage to keep the joy, not just bring it and protect it from those that, would see that light snuffed out. And it's these little moments, because the church comes around all of you more. They embrace you more. There are actual invites to the fish fry. Yeah. The pastor he's still got the nice car, but you can tell he's doing different things with that money now. And he's asking for Hathor and Anansi's opinions on that.
Do you want to go first?
There are several people, Buna, that are looking to sort of be as well armed and clearly as skilled as you and of your crew. They want to be the black up when the moment calls for it. So you all are moving through the 60s. There are a lot of big moments. There's the March on Washington. There's Selma to Montgomery. There's little protests like sit-ins where people just asked to be served at a restaurant and refuse to get up when they're denied. The police use hoses and dogs to try and keep us in line, and yet we all sing as we work, "We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday." This is a hard time for a lot of people, but we keep our heads up. The people pray, and though again it is to the Christian God, as that's what they were given in these trying times, you still feel them call out to you. In the moments where they stand tall, arm in arm, walking forward, even as they see the wall of police officers that would stop them from getting to their destination. Whether it's the late night juke joints or the bars where people are telling tales through drinks, laughter, and tears. Whether it is the songs that people sing at funerals. They're still praying to you. They may not know it like they used to, may not feel it in the same way, but they're all still connected, tied. And it's going to be a hard fight, but I think you're going to be okay. We're going to be all right, as they say. So I think we'll take a break here. We'll be back in 10 to 15, probably 15. So just hang tight for more of Body and Soul, okay? Alrighty. Welcome back, everybody, to Body and Soul, a soundtrack to see forever 2. We are moving right along from the 60s into the 70s. The music's got more of a groove. The lights, the glitz, the glam, it's all different now. The struggle's still real, but niggas are doing it for themselves. This is, of course, the era of blaxploitation. This is where Black folk are making their own movies. They're producing their own shit. Kind of like what we have here. And so I thought it interesting, a parallel. And we should see, after the constant struggle of the 60s, how our gods are doing in the age of disco. We'll start with Anansi.
Anansi in this era is just so completely into the blaxploitation genre, and also into some other things that come out of that. So in the late 60s and into the 70s, so many African American communities across the country discover martial arts as a form of empowerment. And that, of course, becomes reflected in a lot of blaxploitation cinemas with greats like Jim Kelly laying the smackdown on mofos with martial arts. And Anansi loves that element and that aspect and that return to empowerment that comes along with it, and the continuing and growing calls for Black power, for so long having virtually every avenue of power denied or cut off. And so Anansi is just all about that. And you will find Anansi in the seedy movie theaters and in the karate dojos, just soaking all of that up as a part of this this change, and also riding high on the end of segregation and looking forward to the hope that there will be more changes to come, as a great many things shift from that deep power base in the American South that kept people of African descent from voting and from contributing to the processes, from being leaders. And so Anansi is just tied up in all of that and spinning webs to help and try and strengthen those networks.
And strengthen you do. You are a storyteller, you are a trickster, and your presence is felt throughout this era, certainly. Let's go to Buna.
As I said previously, I can see with each death the ripples of the impact of those deaths. And for some of the deaths that I've given, I'm now seeing the impacts come to fruition. But without life, there is no death, and without death, there is no life. And it's good to see that some of those deaths are now making a difference.
Very good. Let's see, between the two of you. No, I actually want to see the two of you together. Hathor, I feel like this is definitely your era. Part of it, especially if you're one to be in the discotheques, it kind of feels like it did during the Renaissance. So, what have you two been up to?
You want to go first?
Sure. Iath has always kind of had a very unique balance with their siblings. They're the part of them that governs language, right? That isn't just spoken language. That's also the language of love, or the language of self-expression, the language of art, and different movements. And they've spent a lot of time shaking hands, especially with Anansi and Hathor, passing poems to Hathor to create beautiful music. They just finished really kind of elevating and propping up this new era of R&B and soul music that kind of flourished in the 60s and started to kind of have its roots in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. So much is coming up, and wheels are turning. But more and more of their time on the spoken word is starting to become Hathor's domain. And they recognize they have a little bit more time and a little more freedom to move through this space slightly differently. And I think when disco starts to rise, Iath sees a need for freedom beyond one's skin and one's color, and the openness of queer culture. Iath is and has always been moving through gender like a wave, and they don't shy away from the people who dare to question the limitations of what you're supposed to be as a man or what you're supposed to be as a woman. That, coupled with the excess that is popular here, not just in drugs and alcohol, not just in loudness of music, but also in indulging oneself in new experiences and new ways to express oneself and new environments to be in. They find themselves having to open the door a little bit more widely to people who are outside of their Black ethnicity and their Black heritage and ancestry. Seeing a change even academically, the rise of Spelman College and Morehouse and all of these historically Black colleges and universities that are now flourishing publicly, producing, all sorts of people. Toni Morrison coming in from Howard, Alice Walker coming in from Spelman, the thinker Howard Zinn, who was not of our people but supported our people. Seeing these huge cultural shifts take place and kind of sitting back and reveling in it all. I feel like Iath feels like this is the first time that they've been able to really be themselves fully since they got here.
Incredible.
I think I'm in ways working with Iath in certain areas. Music is keeping me busy right now for sure. I mean, disco, funk, soul, R&B, like there's just I am busy. I am booked and busy. But I think for the first time, Hathor isn't running from the things that they used to represent in terms of like beauty and fertility and almost love in a way, instead of trying to pile something else on top of who they were. I think they're starting to embrace both halves, so to speak, of who they are. And that's a huge part of right now is Black is beautiful. And just spending a lot of time in the visuals of our culture, especially as they begin to remind us of our past. I mean, makeup trends and everything almost reminiscent of the pharaohs. And so I think there's definitely frustration in the way that using this sort of influence immediately means that white folks pick up on it and start borrowing almost as quickly as I'm working. But I think it's worth it to see, you know, young Black women and young Black men even out with their afros out for the first time and for the first time period at the end of that sentence. You know, or to see folks dancing comfortably with each other, and there's no shame, as there's no hiding in a church basement and diversions and, you know, coops. there's freedom in expression, in expression and gathering, and I think Hathor is thriving for it. Just kind of watching this culmination of all of our work come together, the fruits of our labor. Yeah, it's a good time.
Absolutely. And I think it should be noted, as you mentioned, that you are sort of embracing the other aspects of yourselves. 1970 was when Essence magazine first published. So I definitely think you would have had a hand in that. Probably you and one of the Loa from New Orleans, Erjulie. Definitely.
For sure. Oh yeah.
And there's definitely a sort of mixing of purviews in the disco scene, because with the queer identity, you get the found family, the protection of the older folk taking care of the younger. So your presence, along with the music, which honestly it fucks. Like,
yeah,
70s is a
Hard.
good 70s is a good time for music. Like, not just disco, the funk, like you said, the soul,
rock.
all of it. It's true, rock, yeah. Like all of this, and the 70s is a time for growth and building. It's the building blocks for what is to come in the future. And I think the two of you are sort of the spotlight of the disco club. The music goes, the lights are gleaming, hitting that disco ball. Everything is moving around the two of you. Do you all still keep your physical forms? Or is it a more spiritual thing? Because as the years have gone by, many of you have seen some of your brethren sort of shuffle off their physical forms in lieu of being spiritually present.
I would think that sometimes during this era, for sure, that Anansi would appear as things are happening on the screen, and we see these representations of powerful Black women in things like Coffee and Cleopatra Jones, and things like that, that Anansi would sometimes emulate that and appear as a powerful Black woman and use that energy and momentum that is kind of garnered from the world, I think, seeing things for the first time in many ways. Of course, long before this time, there were artists who were making Black films, but they were predominantly made almost exclusively for Black audiences. And so in this era, finally, I think Black stories break wide for the first time, and for in cinema, and then on television with things like Sanford and Son and the Jeffersons and Good Times, and all of these people are seeing stories that deal with Black families and Black stories for the first time in a wider market. And so also, you know, powerful figures in those presentations too, you know, Esther Roll as the great matriarchal figure in Good Times and things like that would be representations that I think Anansi would slip into in this era to show all the forms that women take in the Black community and all the roles that they assume, whereas before we just had these representations of the Jezebel and all of these other things that we saw previously. And so Anansi would definitely want to be a part of kind of reinforcing those roles and those ideas kind of in the public consciousness.
Amazing.
I think Ayath would appear as, depending on the scene and the situation, but I feel like Ayath, when they're out and they're with their people and they're partying and they're clubbing and they're spreading that joy and that freedom around and trying to inspire people to live as authentically as possible, they would probably downshift how hard they were trying to present in a way that would make people comfortable. I think that they shine under those disco lights, right? They shine and sparkle as the disco ball kind of twirls, allowing that inner radiance to come out, knowing that someone will probably just chalk it up to really good glitter or great highlighter or fantastic, you know, tan or something like that.
Or a great high.
Right, or a very great high. And I also think that they let go of their gender presentation a little bit too. Drag has always been in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Our earliest drag queens were the 1800s. So I think that Ayath has always played in that pond. But as ballroom culture starts to kind of solidify and begin its kind of it's ramping up into the 80s, she drops it. Like, he's out, he sees Sylvester and other beautiful people that are just living their best life and being who they are, and I think that's something that she wants to contribute to. So he presents himself exactly as he is when he's out, and tries to further that notion of freedom, personal freedom.
Incredible.
I think Hathor, words escape me. I think Hathor does stay in a physical form as well. There's too much to be tethered to, I think, to go quite yet. But I think similarly to Ayath, they sort of let go. I think they held on to a very feminine sort of tradition just by habit. And I think they're starting to understand that their role in all of this transcends that. Um, and so for sure up in the ballrooms. And I think I took the feat, I think it's the same one that Anansi has, the face in the crowd one. No,
Mhm.
wait. Yeah, face in the crowd and then one person, many faces. And I think this is the decade where it really kicks in, where just same sort of rooted features, definitely, black, big nose, beautiful dark skin with a golden sheen. All of those things always stay, but how mask or femme from one day to the next will change. Um, their interests in their appearance will change. Their interest in fashion trends will change. Um, I think they, for the first time, get to explore who they are in relation to the culture that they're helping to foster. Um, and it's definitely chaotic and all over the place in the best way.
Amazing. Buna.
Buna has changed a bit. I am so tired. Having been to the civil rights era,
Mhm.
the deaths of heroes turned into martyrs. The changes in the era as a result of these martyrs, the freedoms that people enjoy, the life that has grown because of these deaths in that era. The people who were once the Black Panthers, those types of people have begun to start gangs, Bloods, Crips. The violence never ends. Death is always present. The drugs do seep into the community slowly, and I can see its impact on our community. But despite that, it's an era where the parties never end. And at the same time, more death. The people around me, I would like to go away. I really would. I would love to take a vacation, but I can't. The people around me, they find me everywhere I go. They bring me presents, men and women, and others offer themselves to me. They worship me. I don't understand it, and it just makes me so weary. I've been through enough. I've seen enough death.
Well, just because you give up your physical form does not mean you are God. Death is not so easily forgotten. There's the go-to phrase, I ain't gotta do shit but stay black and die. So you'll always be there, but whether or not you keep a physical form is fully up to you. But it seems that a lot of you still have need for a corpus of sorts. And so you all are existing, living. You are seeing the growth of your people after many years of fight. And as I've said, it's not over, certainly. You're just taking it to new battlegrounds. And you have a killer soundtrack to go off of.
I think too, one of the things that Anansi would definitely tap into, and I think all of the others touched on this in one way or another, is that in this era also there's this amazing movement of a return to Africa through dress and music and makeup and so many other elements as as Black people emerge from the civil rights era and realize that their connection to their origins was severed and completely cut off. And so there's this great movement to look back to Africa and try and reconnect in one way or another. And that, I think, those connections kind of help build new angles and new communities. But I think they also offer some comfort and some explanation for some of the things that are going on. As Buna pointed out, all of the violence that comes about mimics in many ways the violence that many African countries suffer as they throw off the colonial yoke and gain their independence. And so Anansi would kind of share stories and to kind of help people understand the shifts that are happening and those changes that are happening. And one of those he will draw from the great African author Chinua Achebe, and where Chinua Achebe in his work A Man of the People gives this description of people, a person who was born in the rain and the cold and never knew anything but the rain and the cold, and then one day they are brought into a warm home and brought next to a warm fire, and that once they experience that warmth for the first time in their lives, that they will do anything to not give it up. And that kind of parallels Black people gaining power. So many now being registered to vote for the first time and being able to have power and access in their communities that weren't there before. And certainly some of them then take that power and do some awful things with it because they're terrified of losing it, because they've never had that before and they don't know what to do with it, and they certainly don't want to give it up. And so Anansi would be helping spreading these stories and these tales to try and help people understand, in some cases, these seismic shifts that are happening in Black communities with violence and rising drug problems and things like that. Even as these freedoms are gained, there are still wide gaps in pay and income and social mobility and all of these other things that keep Black people formed to these fairly new phenomena known as ghettos, at least fairly new to the Black community, and these things Anansi tries to offer through stories and tales explanations about these things.
I think you
Sorry.
I think you tell those stories and they listen, they hear you, and they want, many of them question, even if not aloud, how to move from that, how to go beyond, get out of the ghettos, as it were. Hathor.
Kind of following in Anansi's footsteps, but sort of going in a slightly different direction, seeing the sort of urge to want to understand, return to, and embrace roots. I'm going to start sowing the seeds for what will eventually be discussed as Afrofuturism. We won't have that word for a very long time, but I think the aesthetics, the music, the movement, the spirit of it are all things that are not necessarily my dominion, but definitely in my wheelhouse. And I think working with each of you really is how deep it goes. Start planting some seeds.
Absolutely. I mean, Afrofuturism, you've got, you know, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, you see those outfits? They're from another fucking
Mhm.
planet. You know what I mean? They're not from this time for sure.
E-Funk.
P-Funk, yeah.
And
Um,
Anansi would certainly occasionally drop these little hints in that arena as well. The great Octavia Butler is writing in this
My
time
girl.
frame,
mhm.
and telling the rare stories in this era that have black faces front and center. The rare science fiction stories we find in these early eras, and so he would kind of maybe nudge some people in the direction of those sorts of tales and stories, and kind of as Anansi would do, as Hathor is making those inroads. Anansi, a book that fell off of a truck, might find its way into the hand of a young child who had never read science fiction with someone who looked like them, and kind of continue to help plant those seeds.
Yeah. And that child was LeVar Burton.
Yeah, you know,
Probably. Yeah.
very well may be.
It could link up. I actually have. It's been several years. He's been busy. Just sort of definitely taking a lot of focus with the HBCUs. But Horace comes to you at some point. You are one of the friends of my mother, yes?
I am.
Good. I was wondering if I could get your help.
Anytime, brother. What do you need?
He's going to hand you some paperwork, some information. It's something that you had heard of in the years before, about some studies that were done in Tuskegee. And even here in 1970, still happening. Penicillin was developed years ago, and they weren't given the cure. You've been able to spread things like this before. Can you tell them?
Oh, I can get the word out. And I think Horace knows that this is not a physical thing that he's
Mhm.
witnessing. But as she leafs through the pages, his fingers caress each page with like a little puff, a little mote of flame, until the whole thing is just on fire and turns to ashes in their hand. And when they open their hand back up, the papers are there.
Mhm.
I'll do what I can with this. This is revolting. Who
Yeah.
would do something like this? Animals.
It's widespread. I mean, they yeah, that's why I need people to know.
So quiet too.
Yeah, didn't say a thing, didn't leave the area.
You know, I had hoped that they'd learn, but
Mm.
how to be better. not sneakier.
Yeah, that was kind of the hope across the board, but looking at things, well, it seems that they just took the sneaky route, not the better route.
It's a little late. It's been going on for some time. I can help people, but I worry about what's coming next that people won't respond quickly to.
Yeah, I'm worried as well. We'll see,
Thank you.
of course. I'll tell my mother I'll drop by.
I will. They'll be happy to hear from you.
Good. And they will go off.
I think Aya fills the day and subsequent weeks with intervening in medical journals, speaking to news outlets that are interested, attempting to divert funds to Tuskegee and to the people that need it most, and attempting to mitigate the damage and the fallout from this, knowing that their people won't trust doctors and won't trust science quite the same after this, and how detrimental that might be, but how necessary it is in the moment. And they try to kind of balance the news by encouraging caution, encouraging educating oneself, encouraging doing your own research. But after the fear of being used and taken advantage of, especially by one's government, sinks in, they start pivoting and focus a little less on trusting people outside of your community that say they want to help you, and a little bit more on community relief and whisper network and having conversations with one another to keep each other safe.
Absolutely. I think now more than definitely in the 60s, and it's sort of remained true because you also have like the feminist movement happening now. The Black community realizes and is actually vocalizing that they need their white allies to actually stand up, show up, and show out. And so I think a lot of that is happening, especially you've got the disco communities, which is such a lively mashup of people. Not just black and white. There are other brown folk out here too.
I think when IAF goes to those marches of femmes and women and sees what they're all about, tries to divide their time so that it's not just party all the time. But when they get there, the silence from their allies is deafening. They look around and realize that this is a very different fight than the one that our people need to have. These people are fighting for the ability to wear pants and go to work and be a working mother and not have men talk down to them, and all of these things that have been burdens for Black women rather than things that they would aspire to or need in any way. And I think that strength that Ayath usually carries with them in this place feels both too big and too small at the same time. Lots of losing battles for Ayath, I think, in this time, where the connections just aren't being made It's a
Mhm.
new day and it's a new time and things are slowly getting better. But there's so much that's backward that they can't quite spin back around.
Mm.
So it's like there's a million fires, and Iath is just like, which 6 of these should I be focusing my time on?
Right. Right.
Which of these
exactly.
aren't losing battles?
Yeah.
They entrust people like Audre Lorde and the Combahee River Collective to watch over the feminist movement, hoping Shirley Chisholm, hoping that they can get 3-4 steps ahead of where they need to be. They look to politics and the people that are trying to fight against the ripples of war and Black bodies still being on the front lines and people not wanting to be conscripted and speaking up, and trust that that'll take care of itself. Hope it'll take care of itself.
Cool.
And they reach out to Hathor and let her know that Horus is doing just fine. I think I fill her in on the Tuskegee experiments and just let her know there are a lot of mothers that she's going to be hearing from in their prayers.
I will be putting my psychologist stunt to work,
Mhm.
visiting not just those mothers, but the mothers of soldiers. Just spending a lot of time, I think, being the spirit behind the political steps forward. Not necessarily involved in pushing movements forward in that way, but giving the people who are doing that work the strength and the security to keep moving forward and to keep stepping. And that when Buna visits, to visit after. To just trying to start becoming the harmony between my siblings.
Absolutely. Incredible.
I think too in this time frame, Anansi would be also extraordinarily busy. Ever the spider on the wall, Anansi would do as Anansi does and eavesdrop on some of these conversations and weep that like in the past that even that at no time are Black bodies our own, that back in the days when we were slaves, even when we died, we wouldn't own our bodies. They would be given to medical institutions for experimentation so that families could not, if they hadn't been ripped apart already, could not bury their dead, and tales that will come to light in the future of people like Henrietta Lacks and the use of her DNA strain. And then the Tuskegee experiments are just a part of that lineage of Black bodies being used for medical experimentation. But at the same time, Anansi would be involved in this era where we see the seeds of the second wave feminist movement, and the questions are being asked that the leadership and the goals of the feminist movement for so long have focused on the needs and the desires of white femmes and haven't asked what queer or Latinx or queer femmes might need or desire and where they want to lead the movement. And those questions are important because they will reshape the movement. And I think Anansi will be involved there, kind of things. And then also the 70s is this era where Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw will give us that word intersectionality that will echo into the future as she's looking at legal cases, and she will be one of the founders of what will come to be the three most debated letters in the English language, CRT. And she lays this groundwork looking at two critical cases. And I think Anansi will again be a spider on the wall as the American court system decides in one case that a group of Black women suing General Motors were not discriminated against because General Motors didn't discriminate against Black men, and General Motors didn't discriminate against white women. Therefore, it couldn't discriminate against Black women because they are not a distinct class. Yet in that same year, a different court in America will rule that Black women cannot roll Black men into their discrimination lawsuit because Black women are a distinct class. So these contradictions of the way Black people and Black women are treated and thought of in the legal system start to raise questions that will become the basis of critical race theory, of asking why are these differences, why are these contradictory rulings against, and will give us new ways to question what we see. And Anansi will tug on the various threads that connect all of these things with this growing understanding in this particular area, especially, that even though that racism is an insidious thing, and that if it cannot be public, that it will find ways to go underground, and it will find ways to work quietly and secretly. And so Anansi is faced with a new form of racism that operates much as Anansi does himself, in the shadows and with lies and deception, because the segregation era has ended and open racism is no longer in vogue. And so now it has to be insidious. And so Anansi will gladly accept that challenge of fighting this new form of racism, because that's his element.
Yeah. It's like Ayath said, they didn't get better. They got good at hiding it.
Yeah.
And Malcolm X said, the decade before, the most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. And it is truly felt here. But you all are fighting to see that change. I think the four of you find yourselves together. It's at a club. Ayath, you've got a VIP section once again. Holding court. The children are serving. And while I'm sure, well, actually, no, I want to hear it. Buna, do you dress up for the discotheque, or are you in your gray and black?
Oh, I'm in my normal gray and black. It's how people recognize me and manage to stay out of my way.
You know, something tells me you could wear your birthday suit and they still recognize you and stay out of your way, but maybe that's just me.
I know you 100% have a signature style, but my brain went to disco attire, but goth, and the visual of that is very pleasing to me.
Disco
It is.
goth.
That's beautiful.
10 out of 10. I do
Is there
need to
such
see
a
that
thing?
now.
Disco goth?
I'm sure that there
Google,
is.
do you have this
It's
woman?
gonna be like the Saturday Night Fever suit, but black instead of white, with a gray shirt underneath.
That's exactly what I was thinking of,
Black
actually.
tie.
Let's rock with it then. Yeah,
I love
let's
it.
go with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I feel like Ayath sees Buna walk in and snaps a finger and points to the velvet rope and
Mhm.
waves, welcomes
Oh.
them, flags them down.
Yeah, the guy with the rope immediately moves that, and you are permitted entry into the VIP section, Buna.
I have
My
a cluster of
sibling.
followers that just trail behind me everywhere I go, I feel like.
There's plenty of seating for them.
No, please. Go have yourself a drink.
So,
They flitter off.
Sibling. You look well.
same to you.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a new kind of disco goth aesthetic I'm going for.
It's working.
I just came up with it last week.
It's working magic. I wanted to ask you something. I don't mean to be a downer. Obviously, this party is buzzing. But, in light of the recent things I've been writing to you about, how do you keep it? Your calm. If you wanted to, on a bad day, you could wipe out an entire city block. A state, I imagine. How do you keep the flames inside without them burning you to ash?
It's a very complicated question. When I assumed the role of death, I assumed responsibility for all of it. The ones coming from Africa, the ones that died in the mud afterwards, the ones that died overseas in Germany, France, all of us. I assumed responsibility for all their deaths. How do I maintain? Well, not really sure. No, actually, I am sure. I love them. In their moments of death, I can see who they really are. And the good ones, I show them who they really are too. The impact, the ripples of their life, the impact of their death that will have in the future. And it gives me hope. Death is the bedseat of life. I mean, imagine the motivation, inspiration that comes from seeing someone die. Oh, that's not going to be me. Or I got to get my shit together before it's my turn. They find something in themselves when they witness death. And I like to think I do too. Not all of them, of course. Some have wasted all their time. But the ones that inspire upon passing, when I give them death, those ones make it all worthwhile. But I do grow weary. There's one I have been chasing for years now. Henrietta Lacks. Been chasing and chasing and chasing her. You know, some people run from me. Some people I have to hunt down, but her, they won't let her pass.
No rest, despite all she's done.
I'll find her one day.
Ayath loops their arm into yours and leans his head on your shoulder, kind of like gestures out to the dance floor. We've made great strides. People aren't as worse off as they were, despite the fact that things keep getting better and yet a little bit worse all the time. But the more we struggle and the harder it gets, the more time that passes, the more difficult it is for me to hide my pain and my rage and my sadness. Hathor and I, we've made some headway. We've made some beautiful things together. especially with your help. I think we could use more of your help. There's something kind of brewing. It's growing almost like a wildflower out of the roughness and the dimness and darkness of the street, of the concrete, of the pavement. There's vulnerability, but there's rage too. And I think it's something new, something different. It's joyous right now, this hip hop. It's joyous in its infancy.
I mean, that song Rapper's Delight is like 20 minutes long.
People had a lot to say. I mean, gotta give people their time, right? It doesn't
Wow.
compare to the excitement and exultation of disco. This is a palace that we can all live in exactly as we are. Anyone who you are, whatever walk of life, whatever beat that you march to, you're welcome here. And it's beautiful, which is why I fear that it is going to be very, very short-lived. And something will take its place. A little less welcoming, but just as comforting in a different way. And when it arrives, I think we should just all try not to be consumed by it. Because that kind of potency is something that the rest of the world is not ready to contain.
Sometimes, sibling, I forget that you can't see what I see. As I said, each death creates a ripple in space and time, and I can see the stretch of those ripples. And sometimes one death ripples for hundreds of years. It's hard to measure the impact of one life in a very short amount of time. Things are changing, and they will continue to do so, but those ripples, some of them are very beautiful. Just hang out. Just kick it for a little bit and wait for the ripples. Wait for the tide to come in from those ripples.
Before the other two are with you, I will say, Buna, in this place, I think there's no death currently, but you always know when it'll happen. And well, the ripples you can feel in this place resonate like in your chest. The things to come. I don't think much of the world is prepared for it. But you're death, so you'll always be there and prepared.
I think I take, with that beautiful analogy, I think I take a deep breath, a full swig of the champagne, just knock it back effortlessly. A few sips off of the cognac by its side, and pop up with a big radiant smile. Buna, come on. One dance just for me. I know you don't do that, but just once.
You didn't see me during the Renaissance? I was tearing it up out there.
I know, but Tavares is on and I need to let it out.
I need a drink though. Where's my drink? Hey,
I think
do you remember
There's a
when,
drink.
do you remember when I had to get Hathor so drunk because she was killing everybody? The paperwork, the deaths were going everywhere. Beer after beer after beer after feeder. I was like, I needed a break. Hathor, have a drink.
A
Remember that?
break? No, are you kidding me? I was just upset I didn't have enough snacks.
Ugh.
I think Anansi would sort of appear at this moment, having gotten past the bouncer from knowing the bouncer and the college courses that they're taking. And Anansi would appear in a full regalia in black, red, and green with a wide brim fur-lined hat, a feather boa, sort of a more androgynous appearance, bell bottoms, and with the cuffs of the pants and the shirt with fur-lined cuffs. And Anansi would appear and just kind of sit and say, brothers, sisters, siblings, and turn and look at Ayath and say, is Buna going on about death again? And then reach over and touch the glasses and refill them with libations and say, a trick I learned from one of those Norris white boys.
Much appreciated. And yes,
Incredible.
he was going on at my request. However, so I've been feeling a little heavy lately, and I've got to refill my energy stores for what's coming. We're gonna go dance.
Anansi, who dressed you today? How did you come up with this? Is this the trick you're playing on me right now? You coming in looking like this? Because you look...
Well, I knew you would enjoy it.
I definitely do. It's you. It's definitely you. We're gonna hit the dance floor. You coming?
Let's do it. Where's Hathor?
Yeah, where's Hathor?
Can you even
Ayath points
see
across
me?
the room.
Yeah. I feel like you have a radar for me. You have like a GPS in
Mhm.
your head for me. I'm definitely in some kind of gold lame jumpsuit type situation, afro to the moon, just spinning around. Like, I mean, I think if I could get roller skates in here without killing somebody, I'm probably on them.
You got it.
Yeah,
No
that's
problem.
it's happening. I'm
Are they gonna? They're gonna tell you
Who's
no.
gonna stop you?
Right. They're gonna tell
Excellent
you no?
point.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
excellent point. Just spinning. Not a care in the world. Probably poaching drinks and then putting them back in people's hands because I'm terrible. Yeah. Just vibes.
Please tell me they're gold sequin roller skates.
Oh, of course. What do you take me for? Someone without style? Of course. Everything matches. The nails are painted.
Mm.
Like this is we've gone the mile here for sure.
Yes.
And unlike in Harlem where sort of being on the floor was a happy accident, Hathor is completely in their element and for once doesn't seem to be running to the sidelines.
Incredible. So Hathor, you see 3 of your other siblings taking to the dance floor.
You're gonna do
Hathor, is
the
it-
old fishing pole, like
Just
Mhm.
envisioning that move on the roller skates is a lot, but like in the good way.
oh yeah, no, there's like a spin
Love that.
involved. It's great.
Anansi is going to nudge this whole thing eventually into a good old fashioned Soul Train dance line.
Nice.
Oh yeah, we love that.
Can,
And I
Anansi,
think
can I
that the-
convince you to put everybody on skates?
Oh
It's
yeah,
so well.
that's gonna happen.
Oh,
It has to
excellent.
happen.
I just
'Cause-
really
'cause-
want a roller skate conga line going. I
'cause-
feel like it's great.
Oh, Anansi has to see death on roller skates.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like we could just apparate into a skating rink when we decide to. Like, yeah, we go where the
Yes.
party is, and the party is where we are. So
There it
Nice.
is.
That part.
Yeah.
Especially when the
Uh,
four of us get together. Then it's
Absolutely. The four of you have such power here. You have found ways to embolden yourselves, stay alive, stay relevant, stay connected to your people here. And I think certainly as you enjoy this feeling, this connection, it almost feels like church, like a new church for you. And you may not know for sure what the future holds for you. But in this moment, in this night, it is good. It is well with your souls. And I think, unless anyone has anything, I think that's a good place to call it for today. Very good. You all were, as always, incredible. Mark, so good to have you here today. Certainly.
good to be here.
Yeah, no, you really rounded out the table in an incredible. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm loving this character.
Boona's a mess.
Boona's
In a
fantastic.
Yes.
Boona's a trip, bro.
I can't wait to see Boona as we
Mm.
move on, because I'm here for it.
Oh man.
It's about to get vicious.
Yes. About
Yeah.
to get real.
I really love that, like, you have this huge domain. You're so terrifying. You're so funny, but you also exude the energy of being our group's goth. And it's such a good
Yes.
balance.
I'm here for
Yeah.
You
it.
have
I
all
like
the
that.
gravity that your domain
So-
requires, but also it's just perfect. You have it
Yes.
down. I love it.
I see every
Agree.
death in my dreams. The nightmares haunt me
this
until
is
until I
the skin of a
wake.
killer.
I see the ripples. Oh, you know,
So good.
it's
Oh, yeah.
fantastic. All right.
Outstanding.
Mm.
So
Can't wait till we get to the
la-
2000s and Hot Topics established.
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
gonna have so many jokes.
I'm sorry. Have I been summoned?
Right. He's like, you didn't actually have to call me out like that. How dare. So thank you everyone at home for watching. This was episode 2 of Body and Soul, a soundtrack to see forever 2. I was the facilitator, again, the storytellers, the cast, so thank you. I'm Q. I go by he, him. You can find me on the internet at Midnight Inc. That is midnight_INQ. Q is my name. I'm sure you get it. I have other things in other places. Just find me on one of my social medias and you'll see what I've got going on. I want to give this time to my players. So we will start. We'll start with Stefan. With Stefan.
Yes, either is acceptable, because the Creole side of the family says Stefan. Either one goes, and so happy to be here. This is just, I mean, I almost hesitate to say life affirming, but it is, because like there are so few times you get, particularly in TTRPG spaces, you get a completely black produced, black casted, black run stream like this. And so it's absolutely incredible. So you can find me on Twitter at Umbral_NightX, where I'll be talking about this and lots of other fun things. And here for it to be back next week for more of this.
Incredible. Let's do Liz.
You know when you have a sixth sense for when you're gonna be called on? Hey everybody, I'm Dauntless. You can call me Daunt or Liss. You can find me on Twitter at DAUNT_LYS or on Twitch as DAUNTLYS, one word. I am a variety streamer as well as a TTRPG creator, so you can watch me do this, but you can also watch me. I don't. What have I been doing? I've been working on building the DeLorean Lego set. It is 400 steps. I'm in it now. We're in it.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I'm fighting for my life. It's
Nice.
a climb. I also am available to be commissioned as a GM. If you're interested in that, you can check out my Ko-Fi page, which is the same as my Twitch username. I'm so happy to be here and sharing this table with such wonderful folks. Like, I look forward to this game. I'm excited to be here. And I'm excited to see what the future holds for our characters now that we've all changed so much. So
Amazing. Say, Candace.
Hello, I'm Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. You can find me at the Candace Marie on Twitter and Blue Sky, at Candace the Magnificent everywhere else. Don't listen to Pixel Chat. It's CANDACE, not with an I. ICE is the wrong kind of Candace. We don't like that. What else about me? I do a bunch of stuff. It's kind of hard to enumerate all of it. I will have an interview with my sibling Buna coming out soon on Apochromatic Unlimited, so keep your eyes peeled for that for Black History Month. I'll also have another chat coming out with Calamity and a few other people of color, Black people in the community, over on Roll D5 in the next couple of weeks. You can catch me at a variety of places doing lots of things, from voice acting to podcasts to other APs. Just follow me on social and I will post all of the things so that you can enjoy them. Thank you so much to Q for inviting me to this table. Thank you to David for producing, and Kay and David for sponsoring the show with their channel. Thank you to my castmates for being absolute fucking rock stars, and making this such a joy to come and sit down and share 4 hours with every single weekend. And thank you to all of you who are watching. It's really, really heartening to see people show up to listen to our stories. There are a lot of all whatever ethnicity shows that are out there that get a lot of love, and it's really, really positive to see that we're getting some love too. So thank you, and please tell your friends.
Yeah, tell your friend, tell your mama now. Mark.
Please tell your mama now. Little Tay Tay and everybody.
Absolutely. Tell her Pookie. Look, tell man.
Oh my Lord have mercy. I'm so happy for this. Hey everybody, it's your 40-year-old boy, Mark J. When I'm not here being death, you can find me on Apochromatic Unlimited. I'm gonna enunciate it so we can get it right this time. Apochromatic Unlimited. We have our zine, we have APs, we have gaming let's plays. We have so much cool stuff. It's an all POC group, and we're here to uplift the voices of other people of color in the TTRPG space. I also have my own podcast called Nunshot, where I interview really cool people, like Candace, and very soon the rest of this group, including David, who's got a lot to say. I gotta have David, because David got a lot to say. It's the same kind of thing. I interview people of color about their experience in the TTRPG space, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far. You can find me at More the Merrier on Twitter, and you can't find me on Instagram. Don't look for me on Instagram, but just check me out on Twitter. And if you want to support Apochromatic Unlimited, check out our Patreon. And that's all I got.
Fantastic. I would also like to shout out David, who's working with us behind the scenes, and thank Chaotic also. So David and Kay, thank you all so much for having us here. I am truly blessed to have all of these amazing people working with me. So I think for now, it is time to say goodbye, but only for now. Until next time, you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a happy Black History Month. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.